culinary world, and that is potatoes. That's right. It is National Potato Month. And as Meathead and I were corresponding over the course of the week, I said, hey, it is, because I think I saw it was a post on Meathead's Twitter or Instagram, one of those, some type of social media for Meathead. And he had mentioned that it was National Potato Month. And I said, is it out of line that we would sit here and do any number of minutes on potato? Because when you stop to think about it and break it down, there are a number of different potatoes. Not all potatoes are created equal. Not all potatoes should be prepared in the same way. Some potatoes are better prepared this way or that way versus another. The list goes on. And Meathead is obviously a potato fan. I'm a huge potato fan, maybe more than I should be. So I thought it would be a great idea to talk a lot about, or at least as much as we could talk about potatoes on that remains relevant and entertaining. And then we can switch over to a bunch of Facebook questions that we got over the last couple weeks. So Meathead in his traditional first hour, and then we will move to the second hour. It's no surprise, especially if you listen to the show and follow some of the topics that we go into. And no, I'm not going to be talking about Beyond Burger or Impossible Burger or Beyond Meat or Impossible Meat at this point. But I will be talking about real live beef with first-time guest and owner, fourth-generation owner, by the way, Doug Hassel from Hassel Cattle Company. What is on the rise, or what continues to be on the rise? What does everybody want to get their hands on? What does everybody want to take pictures of and show everybody what they're cooking as they slice that steak for no good reason? And I'm a hypocrite because I do it every so often for social media pictures and so forth. That's the Wagyu or the Wagyu or the Wagyu or the American Kobe or whatever you want to call it. This is the pinnacle of beef in this country at this point. It's not 100% Japanese Wagyu, and of course we will talk about the differences as far as that's concerned. But we will talk about this rise of, or rise to prominence of the Wagyu beef here in this country, and more purveyors are now starting to come out of the woodwork. Years ago, it was just a very small handful, and now you have, I guess, a bunch would be pretty good. Plus you have purveyors carrying it, not only for end users here in your home, but across the restaurant board. So we'll be talking with Doug Hassel from Hassel Cattle Company in the second hour. Depending on how long that goes, we might have some open time for your phone calls and emails as well. So 216-220-0966, Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Don't forget, you can follow me socially at BBQ Central Show on Instagram and Twitter /BBQ Central Show on Facebook. So follow me or like me or both on all of those platforms. I do try to make it worth your while, and I don't throw up a bunch of crap. In fact, Instagram has been a little quiet for me. I've done a lot of the tweetering, but I got to get back on the feed. A lot of stories on Instagram, but not a lot of feed pictures on Instagram. So I got to rectify that. I don't spend as much time as I used to in previous years on this, but I don't think I'm letting anybody in on the fact that, from a surprise standpoint, that tomorrow is September 11th, 18 years ago. A bunch of rat, gutless bastards flew planes into our buildings across the country and effectively changed our lives forever. And I find it, at least for me, incumbent that I end the show, each show, as I have for the last 12 years or so, at least on the live show, with a reference of September 11th, 2001, I will never forget, because it's not just saying that. And the more time passes, the more it is just an event that took place that you read about online. I was going to say that you read about in a textbook, but I don't even know if that really happens in schools anymore. But when I was in school and you were learning about the great tragedies and events of the world and here in this country, you read it in a textbook. And 18 years removed now, it does feel like that's something that you just see or would hear about in a textbook, or it's just covered in class. But a number of us lived that day. I was driving west outside of Cleveland, closer to Cedar Point, in the middle of nowhere when I was listening to the Howard Stern show and heard the first plane. Just kind of, it was an accident, or maybe it was a propeller plane. It wasn't a jet airliner that flew into the World Trade Centers. And then 7 minutes after that, the second plane goes in. Of course, cameras are on it at that point, and everybody sees it. And then we know we're under attack. And, it's tough for the folks. My oldest daughter was just months old, so even for her, it doesn't hold the same tragedy value that it does for those of us that are old enough to realize what the fuck was going on at that point and how helpless everybody felt, and were we next, and where was everybody that we loved. So when I say let's not forget, I mean it. Let's not forget. Let's make sure that tomorrow you watch that stuff on television again. And I know it's terrible to sit back and go through, and I can't imagine having lost somebody on September 11th and then rewatching all of that stuff as you have for the last 18 years. Maybe they don't, and for good reason, because it's just continuing that tragedy that was, compounded even worse than any of us could have imagined. But I don't ever want to forget it. And as long as I do the show, the little bit that I can lend to people. Did he just say September 11th, 2001 at the end? Yes. Because for me, that is the biggest event that has happened. Politics aside, singularly, that is the biggest event that has happened in my lifetime, and I will refuse to let anybody that listens to this show forget about September 11th, 2001. Would love your thoughts on that as well. Maybe where you were that day, or what your thoughts are 18 years removed. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Meathead coming up here in just a few minutes. Let me talk to you quickly about Hartville Hardware. The Grill Fest is coming up. If you're not familiar with that, it's a place in Hartville, Ohio, which is south and then due east of downtown Cleveland. It's the country's largest hardware store, if you can believe that. It's huge. There's homes in this hardware store. Functioning homes. That's how big it is. It's really big. Think of the biggest hardware store and then realize that it's bigger than that. By the way, not to cut out of the read here, the Facebook channel is back up and running. It's such a pain in the butt. Maybe I'm just trying to go to it, but I don't know. Anyway, September 21st, so a week from this coming Saturday, we have Grill Fest 2019. If you're going to be around the general Cleveland area, you have nothing better to do, stop down. It's going to be me all day, starting at 10 o'clock. That's when festivities officially kick off. I'll be there a couple hours early, probably catching up with all the other barbecue and grilling starlets and stars that will be there. For instance, Lisa Delgado will be doing 3 demos on the Big Green Egg during the course of the day in the live demo tent. There will be a Weber representative as well. And of course, as we learned last week, BBQ, Danielle Bennett, will be doing Traeger demos, 3 of those on September 21st. All day fun with me as I host and moderate a bunch of these live demos. We'll get your questions from the audience. I'll ask questions. As I was saying last week with Danielle, it'll be like a real live Barbecue Central show, except she'll actually be cooking, and I'll be running around like a maniac with a microphone in my hand. It's great. Come out and see us, won't you? HartvilleHardware.com is the website. It's free to attend. They have a huge burn area where you can see things actually happening. There'll be a rib contest that you will not be able to taste probably, but I'll be judging that. Great all-day fun. Weather at this point promises to be okay. Little on the cool side, but I'm getting older, so my blood's thinning, and always want it to be 75 or hotter. Again, that's September 21st, 2019, a week from Saturday. Come out and see me. Come out and see Diva, Lisa Delgado, and whoever the hell the Weber rep is going to be. How do we not know who the Weber rep is going to be? That's a pretty big company last I checked. Meathead coming up out of the break. Stick around. Be right back.
Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Hey, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Butcher's Barbecue Products. Injections, marinades, rubs, seasonings, barbecue sauces, grilling oils. All of Butcher Barbecue Products tested on that competition circuit as well as in backyards like mine worldwide. Be the pitmaster of your neighborhood and visit butcherbbq.com to stock up now. Always trust your butcher. The second Tuesday, my friends, means that we visit with esteemed colleague and creator of AmazingRibs.com, Meathead. Hey, what's up, pal?
Steamed, am I?
You are esteemed, right?
Oh, esteemed.
Yes. Well, I mean, I guess you could be steamed, too, if we were talking about a particular cooking method. We might talk about that a little bit later.
Or if we're football fans, both of us.
Holy well, look, Meathead, I mean, oh, boy, we could diverge very quickly and not talk about cooking. But, you know, it is, I say we just in general, but if we have ever talked football, especially for this upcoming season, I quit the Browns 3 years ago after the 1-win season when everybody said it couldn't possibly get any worse. And I said, well, of course, there's one more game to lose. You could not win any game, which they summarily won out and lost all of the possible games that following season. I forget about it. I mean, that was totally it. So to see the talent that we got, and to know that we have this quarterback, blah, 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 as a businessman and somebody that would still have to pay to go to a game, what I say is, screw you. Put together a couple winning seasons, show me that you can do it, and then as a consumer, I might feel like giving you some of my money, but what happened on Sunday is nothing new. For years, since 1999, all we have done is lose and lose. I mean, come on.
The difference is a lot of the smart guys were saying, oh, this could be Cleveland's year.
But Meathead, we've been saying that since 1999. I mean, as a famous local sports talk show host said, how much poop can one man eat? I've had my fill.
Let me get this straight now.
Yes.
5 years ago, you gave up drinking. 3 years ago, you gave up the Browns.
2 years, I gave up drinking. That's it.
Okay, 2 years. and have you given up the Cavaliers yet?
Well, I mean, they're certainly not going to be any good. And by the way, I mean, this has nothing to do with anything. But tragic news out of Cleveland Cavaliers camp. The television voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Fred McLeod, passed away completely unexpected last night at 67 years old. And you know, you don't realize it. Meathead, you could probably attest to this. When you listen to a guy, like I watch all of the Cavs games. Some we went to that partial, live, so I didn't get to hear him. But all the other Cavs game I watch on television. And I listen to Fred McLeod call Cavs games for the last 13 years. And you don't realize that when you're a fan, he's the voice. He's who you hear, and you unknowingly develop this relationship, especially if you like him. And I was pretty in a bad mood when I learned that he had passed away last night. I mean, you find yourself?
This is not a Cavs fan speaking. This is a radio man speaking.
Both, but I'm a Cavs fan.
Well, but you lost one of your peers. You lost a fellow radio man.
Yeah.
And I think it sounds like that you're speaking from the standpoint of this was the voice.
Yes.
The radio man.
He painted it. He painted the pictures, and you unknowingly have this relationship with somebody, and then all of a sudden it's just out of the blue that he's not going to be there this season. And as bad as the Cavs are going to suck this season, and they are going to suck, I didn't realize how much I was looking forward to hearing Fred and Austin Carr interact with each other this season, and that won't be there ever again. And that kind of makes me sad as a sports fan.
We still have the voice of barbecue.
That's right. For as long as we will have that. And who knows how long that's going to be. So, all right, we are way off topic. Meathead, I have to ask you this question before we get to the topic at hand. Can you please explain the best picture I have ever seen of you on the internet, which is this? You and Mustard Lady look like you are about to go at it. What is going on here?
Oh, my goodness. I don't know. Where? Oh, this must have been at the Mustard Museum.
Yeah, this is looks like National Mustard Day is on the banner in the background. And
Okay. Hey guys, there is in Wisconsin. I forget the name of the little town. It's south of Madison, north of the Illinois border, not far from Milwaukee. There is a mustard museum. Barry Levinson and his wife run this really fun place. It's got the whole history of mustard. It's got hundreds of mustard bottles from all over the world, historical mustard, and it's just a fun place. He is a stitch. He used to be a lawyer, but he could be a stand-up comic. He's really funny. And they have an annual mustard festival. And people get dolled up. I don't think she works for the museum. I think she's just a mustard lover.
are you just asking her maybe for a taste of her mustard or something like that? What are we talking? It's a great picture. It's my favorite picture of you I've ever seen, I think.
No, what you don't see is there's a hot dog in my other hand, and I'm asking her to. Oh, never mind.
Well, I mean, it was. I saw the picture and I was like, this could be one of my favorite meathead pictures of all
I've
time.
never seen that. Hey, where'd you get that? I like to have a copy.
You know, I got people that scour the internet for great pictures. I'll send it to you over email after we get off the air here this evening. Also, I do want to say that a couple weeks ago we were able to about 2 weeks ago, we were able to spend a little time together in your fair city as we take in a meal at Smith & Walensky right on the river there in Chicago. And I just want to say that it was a great hospitality that you show me and my middle daughter. And it's always great to be able to get with people in person that you really enjoy having an internet relationship with.
Yeah.
And now you can, continue to solidify the relationship in person.
Oh, I think our friendship goes beyond the monthly chats online. And I got to say this, and I'm trying to figure out how to say it without sounding like a dirty old man. But people out there listening, Greg has a really beautiful daughter who is a model.
Yes.
And she was in town to do some modeling. Greg was along just to drive and chaperone her.
Right.
And she is a delightful young woman. She joined us for supper. And it was a great pleasure to have somebody prettier than you to look at.
Well, it's not very hard, but I agree with you. She is much more good-looking than I am.
I don't know where she must have come from the wife.
Always the wife, no doubt about it. We're talking with Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. And tonight, as you had put, I think, in a tweet a handful of days ago, or maybe it was a week or whatever, that September, National Potato Month, correct?
Yeah. I don't know where they get these things. Somebody asked me that the other day. How do you get to be National Booger Month? I mean,
Right.
where is the official registry? Who approves this? Is this what Congress is doing in their spare time? I don't know, but it is National Potato Month. You brought it up to me and I jumped all over it because I can live on potatoes alone.
Of course.
They say man cannot live on potatoes. You don't see me from the waist down in this video, but you can attest, since you were in my physical presence, I have what one might call a well-marbled carcass. and if I had to go on a low-carb diet, I would starve because I cannot live without potatoes and pizza and pasta. So we said, let's talk about potatoes tonight, and I've got some fun stuff to talk about.
All right, so let's start, I guess, right at the top, which would be types of potatoes. Now, as I roll through my grocery store or produce or whatever, I typically find a Idaho potato, which I guess would classically be called a russet potato of some form. I see a white potato. I see the red skin potato. Yukon Gold, which happens to be my personal favorite potato.
Mine too.
Fingerling potatoes I see from time to time. Usually I'm actually getting those more from farmers markets than the traditional grocery stores. And then, of course, sweet potato, which may or may not be a potato. But what else am I missing as far as types or kinds of potatoes?
Well, the experts break them down into roughly 3 categories.
All right.
There are the starchy potatoes, the waxy potatoes, and the new potatoes. Now, the starchy potatoes are fairly low in moisture and, as you might guess, high in starch. And they're really good for baking and for mashing, for frying, for roasting. They're not really good for boiling because they can disintegrate fairly quickly. And the most common of these is the russet Burbank, which is your standard, fairly large, tan-skinned potato. King Edward is another popular variety. The waxy potatoes are a really good all-purpose. They have a little higher moisture, not a lot though, not as much starch. And when they boil, they get kind of soft around the edges, but they hold their shape. And these are really good for potato salads and casseroles. Most red skin potatoes are considered waxy potatoes. They're kind of thinner skinned.
Yep.
And Yukon Gold is a waxy potato. Now, Yukon Gold is a fairly new hybrid. It was developed in 1966 in Canada. It wasn't introduced until the early 70s. So it's only, 40 years on the market. But I remember when I first tasted it, I mean, it's got this buttery flavor.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of a yellowish meaty meat. And they are, too, also my favorites. Now, the third type is what they call new potatoes. And these are just the small ones, golf ball size. They come kind of funny shape. Your fingerlings fit in. They're usually picked in spring when they're just, smaller. They're thin-skinned, low in moisture and starch, and they're real good for boiling. Skin and oil. You eat them skin and oil. Throw them in stews, soups. Butter them up with parsley. Whatever your favorite herb. They really take well to herbs.
All right, now, those are the potatoes. So we have those down, and now we can actually start talking about the process to getting them eventually into our mouths and then belly, which is cooking. So, we could easily take the route of, which one works best in a smoker or which one works best on a grill. But, I think a lot of people's first introductions to potato is in a baked form. So I would imagine that russet potato, like you had said, is probably better for baking. But Let's talk about methods of baking, and is there a best way to bake?
You're right into my script here, pal.
Here we go.
Well, this is really fun. And when I say what I'm about to say, it won't shock you at all. Use your thermometer. We've all got thermometer. Everybody listening to the show by now has a thermometer, hopefully a Thermapen or something like that.
Yes.
If you want them really fluffy, really light, just, almost on the edge of being mashed potato inside, 212 degrees, boiling temp, right on the edge of boiling, 212 degrees. If you like them a little crunchy, but still soft, 208. Or if you like them, like lumpy and crunchy, al dente, 205. So 205 to 212. And if you want them really light and soft, take them up to 212, 210 in that range and experiment with them. Find your particular temperature, and you can nail it every single time.
Now, since you brought up thermometers, this isn't going to be that weird of a follow-up question. If you want that fluffy innard, do you pull the potato out at 208 or 209 and it's going to carry up to 212? Can you overcook and shoot past 212?
No, you really, it's hard to get past 212. 212 is the boiling temp, and things that are that high in water, just like meat, can't go higher than water boiling temp until the water all boils off.
Got it.
So it's hard to get up above 212, maybe 213 or so, because there is a lot of other stuff in there, starch and stuff, woodiness. But yes, there is definitely a carryover issue. And when you think about it, potatoes are pretty thick. They're about as thick as a turkey breast or a pork loin. So yeah, there's a significant amount of carryover. So if you want it at 212 or at your really fluffy stage, I've found there's typically about a 5-degree carryover, depending on how long it takes you to get it to the table and cut it open. And if you put butter in and smoosh it all around, that's going to slow the cooking. You need to play with it. You need to find because everybody has their favorite texture for potato. Mine may be different than yours.
Is there a Well, I totally forgot the question I was just going to ask you. But
Well, the answer is yes.
So, do you recommend just straight up into the oven? Do you recommend wrapping in foil, like any like cheats or crutches, like you do in barbecue?
Well, let's talk. We're grill people. When you wrap in foil, you're going to get soft skin. And the same thing, you have the similar problem with microwaving. This is not going to shock anybody out there who's listened to me with you over the years. Reverse sear. Start them on the indirect side, warm them with convection air, bring them up to about 10 degrees below your target, then roll them over to the hot side, lift the lid, roll them around on the hot side, and get that skin crispy. And if you want to leave it there long enough to kind of brown it and char it or crunchy, go right ahead. They do take a long time to get there. And if you want to cheat, and I've done this and it works pretty good, a few minutes in the microwave to get them started, cook that center a little, because it takes a while to get those things. I mean, the whole problem with thick meat and potatoes and stuff is the water. Water is a conductor, but it's also an insulator, and it insulates pretty well. And so it takes a long time for heat to work through water. And potatoes are probably in the range of 85% water. Most meats are in the range of 75% water. So there's more water in potato and vegetables than there is in meat, but there's still a lot of water. They're mostly water. So it takes time.
Do you ever experiment? I know you're not a huge fan of caveman cooking of steak, but would you throw potatoes on the coals?
No. The same thing with steaks. You have the same problem that you do with steaks. You get these burnt spots, and they get really hard and leathery. You might like that. I mean, I don't dislike those hard, leathery, burnt spots, but I'm not there's a point where dark goes black and it turns to carbon, and I just am not a big fan of eating carbon. It's just like with a steak. You can get right down above the coals, right down close to them. The closer you get, the more. We've talked about this before, but I can't stress it enough, and I've been trying to clarify the way I explain this to people. On a grill, you've got three energy sources. You've got conduction heat, which is when it's in contact with metal. Metal gets very charged with energy. The metal is the same temperature as the air. Close the lid, the air temperature is 225, the metal is 225, right. But the metal has more energy, and it's the energy we should be thinking about when we're talking about cooking and grill, not the air temp. Because that energy in the metal conducts itself very directly, and that's how you get grill marks. You have the second method is convection airflow. Air is a very slow way to cook things. Put things in warm air. You can stick your arm into a 225-degree grill and hold it there for a few minutes. Yep. But the minute you touch that steel grates or those foam grates for the side of the grill, you're on your way to the hospital. And you will learn very quickly that just because it's 200 degrees doesn't mean it all has the same degree of energy. And then the final, and this is really crucial, is infrared radiant energy. And that's when you're over red stuff. That's when you're over glowing coals. That's when you're over flame. That's infrared radiant heat. And it's energy. And you really can't measure that with thermometer. It's best measured in calories. But the key here is that's the energy that sears a steak. And I talk to people all the time, and I'm always trying to explain what a great sear is. And they say, well, my big green avocado gets up to 600 degrees. And I'd say, yeah, that's air temperature. But it's infrared that you need to sear a steak. And you get infrared by close proximity to glowing red coals. And when you're on your big green avocado, you're 12 inches from the coals. And often you've got a plate in between. So it's not the air. It's the infrared energy. It's all about energy. So I'm off on a tangent here from potato, but the same thing here. If you roll those potatoes over directly above coals, directly above, instead of on top of physically in contact with the coals, you get a nice dark crust. And I like I eat the skin. And by the way, if you're going to eat the skin, you get one of those scrubby sponges. Now, you don't want soap in it, obviously, but a scrubby sponge is really good for scrubbing off any dirt. I mean, potatoes come from underground, so they have dirt in them. They have bacteria and stuff in them, and you just want to scrub off any of the dirt, and then no soap, and away you go.
All right, we're talking with Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. We will stand by just for 2 minutes here, and then we'll talk about deep frying potatoes, Meathead. So get ready to talk about deep fried potatoes as we are talking with Meathead on a topic you probably didn't think you'd hear about on this show, which is potatoes, because they're freaking delicious. Meathead and I agree on many things. Potatoes being delicious are definitely one of those things that we agree on. Hey, let me talk to you about Southside Market and Barbecue, established in 1882. Southside Market Barbecue, one of the oldest barbecue joints in Texas. And they've been owned and operated by the same family for 3 generations. They offer premium Central Texas barbecue products, slow smoked over real post oak wood, shipping, distributing, manufacturing sausages for companies across the U.S. From food trucks to multi-chain restaurants, Southside Sausage can be on your menu too. All meats processed in that on-site USDA-inspected facility, a trusted partner with a focus on quality and authenticity. Wholesale options are available, by the way, shipping nationwide via the FedEx. You can also use food service distribution channels like Sysco, U.S. Foods, and Martin Foods. Co-packaging capable. From research and development package completion, they can follow your recipe or help you develop something brand spanking new. They also have private label opportunities, which means you can use their own tested and true successful products, but just put your label on them. They will let you use their products with your name. Everybody wins in the selling process. Visit SouthsideMarket.com for more information. As you are there and you start putting stuff in your shopping carts, use promo code BBQ Central, all one word, lowercase, BBQ Central, for 10% off your online orders at SouthsideMarket.com. And that's 10% off any order you put on there at any time. Not just your first order, all orders, 10% off. Again, that's code BBQ Central, SouthsideMarket.com. And we have more Meathead coming up in just a few seconds. Stick around. Be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, we are back, and this portion of the show being brought to you by CookinPellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit CookinPellets.com for more information or to purchase some of those woods, by the way, 100% pellet wood, like hickory, and I believe their cherry is 100% as well. So if you're interested in that, check them out. Amazon.com to purchase as well, or CookinPellets.com. As we are rejoined by Meathead from AmazingRibs.com, and we are talking about potatoes this evening. So we have wrapped up the baking portion. We learned that we want to use our thermometers. We learned that 212 is a nice fluffy, and literally 5 degrees on either side will get you al dente all the way up to fluffy. So don't be afraid to use those thermometers in the potato. Sounds a little weird, I guess, but hey, temperature nails everything, right? If we want to be accurate, let's be accurate, for crying out loud.
Cooking is all about temperature and temperature control, both the air, the oven, and the meat. Now, we talked about, you said wrapped up baking, but there was a couple of more things I wanted to share on baking potatoes. One of them is my favorite way to bake a potato is to take the potato, clean it up, and keep it wet after I've scrubbed it down. I want it wet. And then salt it, and the salt will kind of melt and get into the skin. And then I like to slice them in half lengthwise so that I have 2 boat-shaped halves. And then I use my Meathead's Memphis Dust, which is a pork rub. It's a basic, any of your favorite pork rubs, which has paprika, garlic, onion, little brown sugar, white sugar, whatever. That flavor profile.
Yep.
If you've got salt in your rub, then skip the salting phase. But you shouldn't have salt in the rub. I've talked about that before. And this is why. You want to control the salt separately from the other flavors. If you want, you can oil it first and then sprinkle the rub on, and then you cook it indirect, and then you can roll it over, and then I'll often give it a light coat of oil again. And I'm kind of, I keep bacon grease around. And I'll paint it lightly with bacon grease, and then move it over to the hot side for the final stage of searing, and then you get a nice dark brown crust on the cut edge, kind of like a French fry crust, and that's real nice.
No doubt, and that's a good dovetail into the next portion of cooking, which is deep frying. That could mean, of course, French fries, but it doesn't have to be French fries. It could be potato cubes or whatever. So let's talk about best methods in deep frying potatoes.
Well, and especially, by the way, I've got to do my usual plug, but I've got a bunch of potato recipes from everything from potato pancakes to potato salads. And Clint Cantwell, who works with us, has a deep fried sweet potato. And what a gift that is. I don't know who came up with that idea. I remember, 15 years ago or so, tasting them for the first time. It was like, what? Where has this been all my life?
Right.
Fried potato. Didn't we have some at Smith & Wolenski, in fact? I think we did.
I don't think we had the deep fried sweet potatoes. Oh, maybe she did. Yeah, I know we had hash browns, but I think she did get the
hash browns
deep fried sweet potatoes. Yeah, hash browns were really good.
And by the way, did you notice not a single grill mark on that steak?
No, not at all. All brown across.
Edge to edge, dark mahogany,
That's
the way it's supposed to be.
I would assume they consulted you, of course.
Of course.
Yes,
They check with me on everything.
Right.
But we have talked before about deep frying on the grill, but let's touch on the highlights again. And if you want more, I do have this on AmazingRibs.com. When you deep fry in the house, you always face the problem of the spattering just all over the countertop, the stovetop. You can turn on your vent, but it's never strong enough. You set off the smoke alarm. Take your deep frying outside. Deep frying is outdoor cooking. I have a 6-quart Dutch oven. I pour, it depends on what I'm cooking. If it's fried chicken, it's about an inch and a half. Potatoes, I might use more. But I pour my cooking oil into the cast iron pot, and I do 2 zones, just like I'm cooking anything on my gas grill. A hot zone, and I put it right on top of the hot zone. I bring the temp up. 375 to 350 are your sweet spots. Really expert fryers will fluctuate. If they're doing donuts, they're down around 350. But 375 is a good number, because the minute you throw cold stuff in there, it does a nosedive, and it'll go down to 300. So you want to start around 375. And if you chicken and stuff, when you get the exterior perfect, but the interior sometimes is not, you just take it out, put it on the indirect side, let it drip drain, and close the lid, and it will carry over and cook to perfection. Potatoes, same way. Toss them in there, fry them up. They're fantastic. Pull them out. I just put, I take a section of newspaper. You remember newspaper, guys?
I've heard about it.
Yeah, it's an ancient technology. I still get the Sunday paper. I take a section of newspaper and put a couple of layers of paper towel on top of it. So you don't have to waste a whole bunch of paper towel, just like 2 layers of paper towel on top of the newspaper.
Yeah.
And then the fries go on top of the paper towel and on the indirect side. Fantastic. It's a great way to deep fry potatoes. And you can make, and this, whenever you order out, no matter whom you order from, you get the French fries and you rush home with them, and they're soggy.
Yes.
And they're soggy because they steam.
Right.
Potatoes are like 85% water, and the minute you close the lid on that clamshell, it's a steamer, and there goes all your crispiness. So fry them yourself.
Let me ask about. Okay, so which one do I want to know about first?
By the way, also,
yeah,
potato pancakes. Potato pancakes are fantastic, and you can do them on the grill same way. You just only want about a ½ inch of oil out for those, and you want I forget, it's baking soda or baking powder. I always mix the two up. I think it's baking powder. You put a little pinch of baking powder in there to take it over the top, but they're fantastic.
Did you hear that if you put stuff to drain grease off, that you would want to put it actually on a paper bag, because the paper bag it doesn't it'll take in the grease, so it's actually not sitting in it like it would on a paper towel or something along these lines. You ever heard of that?
I know that Alton Brown and others say that you should rest it on a rack, like a cooling rack that you use for a pie or something. But I just can't. That doesn't make sense to me, because if you lay it on paper of some sort, then it's going to wick away the oil. If you lay it on a rack, you've got to wait for it to drip, and if it doesn't drip off, it's going to soak in. I mean, look at it's not diet food. If as long as you don't eat French fries 3 times a day, 6 days a week, it's not going to kill you. But I want it on paper of some sort to drain. So maybe brown paper bag is better at draining. I'd not heard that.
All right. The other question, as it relates to the deep frying of potatoes, I have seen on any number of big head talk shows that you do the potatoes once at a lower temperature to cook through, and then you fish everything out, and then you jack up the temperature, throw them back in again for a couple minutes to crisp the outside. Are you a subscriber to that?
It is the method that potato frying aficionados recommend. And what a lot of restaurants will do is they'll actually put a holding period in there. I know that Smoke Barbecue here in Chicago, which is my favorite barbecue joint in Chicago, SMOQUE.
Yep.
They do that double-step fry or two-step frying. They cut the potatoes on premise. They fry them, but they don't fry them all the way through. They'll pull them out, put them on a rack, I think, on sheet pans, and then they'll put the sheet pans on a cart, and they hold them. And then when you order, they pull them off the cart, and they go into the hot oil, and they finish frying. And French fries are like pizza. Everybody has a platonic ideal in their brain as to what is the perfect French fry. Is it the McDonald's French fry, or is it somebody else's? So many restaurants now serve a coated French fry.
Yep.
And you can tell them instantly they're kind of like sandpaper on the outside from the coating, but they're really crispy, and they hold that crispiness. I love those things, and some of them they put seasonings in them, Parmesan cheese or garlic, and that these are fun. I haven't learned how to do that yet. I bet you can do that yourself. I'm a bit of a purist. I just do fried potatoes.
All right, let's talk about mashed potatoes. I think in my house, if given their druthers of what potato do you want to have, mashed potatoes went out 10 out of 10 times, believe it or not. So do you have a favorite mashed potato recipe or a best way to make?
Well, I have some ideas.
Right.
Shocking as it may sound.
Yes.
Obviously this is not something you're going to do on the grill. Typically you'll take your potatoes and you'll cut them into chunks so they'll cook faster, and they go into water. And you want them to cook so that they're fairly soft. You've got to be able to, if you take a paring knife, you pierce them with a paring knife, it slides in and out fairly quickly, like a good brisket.
Yes.
And then you mash them. And everybody has their favorite level of mash. And, some people like them with the skins on, some with the skins off. Some like little chunkiness in them. So if that's the case, you pull them out of the boiling water when they're still a little firm. Some people like them absolutely smooth and soft. Where you can really go wrong is over whipping them. They can get gluey and just awful. So you got to be careful. You got to make sure not to over whip them and taste them. And then the other thing is what do you add to them? By themselves, they're very pleasant. You can season them salt and pepper or spices or whatever you want. A favorite of mine, of course, is garlic. And raw garlic is a bit, I mean, if you like raw garlic, go ahead and chop it up and throw it in there when you're whipping it. But generally, it's a good idea to cook the garlic. One way to do it is to simmer it in water. Another way is simmer it in milk. That defangs it a bit. Or roast it on the grill. Smoke it is a very nice technique. Smoked garlic mixed into your mashed potato, very nice technique. And then you got your choice. Cream, milk, butter, combination of the above.
Yes.
Yogurt. I lean towards the butter. I mean, good God, you know.
Why not?
I've been known to make mashed potatoes with only butter.
Yeah.
And no milk or cream or other kinds of dairy, and they're just fantastic. You got to really load up on the butter, whole lot of butter, but they're so good. Or you can, you know, put some cream. Again, becomes a very personal preference. How do you like them? And you just, you know, it's a dirty job, but experiment.
Do you like twice baked potatoes? I mean, that's kind of baked and mashed all in one to a certain degree.
Yeah. You know, the technique there is you bake them and then you scoop them out and kind of whip them up. And here you can mix in your sour cream, chopped chives, your garlic,
bacon.
Bacon and cheese. We have a really good bacon and cheese twice baked potato recipe. You want to get fancy, instead of just putting it in there, you can pipe it in with a pastry bag, so you get these nice little curls and swirls. They look really cool. Who doesn't like twice baked potatoes? And then you get to eat the skin when you're done.
Absolutely. Meathead, let me change subjects here real quick as we are evaporating on time, and we had talked about this just a bit while we were taking in a steak on the river in Chicago, which was the continuance of plant-based meat and the craze and the popularity that it is gaining. And we both said to each other, look, fools, don't be fooled. This is not a health alternative. It is only a non-meat alternative. And I know you have a couple thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Since you and I met, I went to the Burger King near my house.
All right.
And bought both the regular Whopper and the new Impossible Whopper. The Impossible Whopper is made with this non-meat faux burger. And Whopper is my favorite of the fast food burgers. So I ran home with them real quickly and tasted them. And I'm doing the Google searches, and one of the first things I find is this big article on Bon Appetit. My family couldn't tell the difference. Well, I don't know about her family, but I could tell the difference. Now, it wasn't huge, but you can tell the difference. And the reason it wasn't huge is you got a sesame seed bun, you got lettuce, you got tomato, you got ketchup, you got mayonnaise, and you got pickles on top of this thing.
Yeah.
So I took it out, both of them, rinsed off, put them on a plate and took bites of each of them, and there is no mistaking. You have to have a lead palate to not tell the difference. I mean, there is just, I mean, the faux burger is admirable for its attempt, and it is to be respected for how close they've come, but it is still a good distance from a real burger.
I mean, if somebody gave you one and the other, and you took bites of both, I don't know if you can unbiasedly say this at this point. Would you? And they never told you one wasn't meat. Would you think that you were just experiencing different grades, or would you say, well, one of these is definitely not meat?
Well, if I was tasting them naked, and somebody handed me the Impossible Burger, I would just say, this is a really bad piece of meat. It's just not a good burger. I mean, because it's not a good burger.
Right.
But I may not have guessed it was a faux burger. But in side by side, there's no question. And it's a fun tasting. Do it with your family. And you were getting at the health aspects.
Yeah.
I think, we're a lot of us are getting the message that we should avoid processed foods. Well, now, we've got to do this quickly here. You cut a steak out of a big muscle of meat and you throw it on you salt and pepper it and throw it on the grill. You're making processed food. You are applying energy to protein, fat, minerals, all that stuff. You are processing it. You are taking it from its raw, natural state and processing it. Now, it's a low level of processing. The word processed food is no legal definition for that very reason. It's processed. You take an apple and peel it, you have processed it. Very low level of processing, but it's processing. So, but the thing about these faux burgers they are probably more processed than a Cheeto.
Yeah, right.
I mean, this stuff goes through some serious machinery and grinding and crunching and genetic modification. I mean, there is nothing in your grocery store that is more processed than this, I would guess. I mean, I can't say definitively, but this is a very highly processed food. So the idea that you're eating vegetables, no, you're not eating vegetables. You're just eating non-meat. Now, we can't dismiss the fact that meat, cattle in particular, are a real strain on the environment.
Right.
And they produce a lot of methane, they produce a lot of carbon dioxide rather, and so on and so on and so on. And vegetables do not. So we know that they've measured all this. What I haven't seen is in the production process, how much energy is used and how much waste is created in the production of these faux burgers. And that has to be added to the environmental impact. And I haven't seen that yet. I'm digging.
All right. Meathead is at AmazingRibs.com. If you have any questions about any of the potato stuff that we talked about, head on over to that website, AmazingRibs.com. And don't forget, if you are a huge fan of Meathead, he is putting together this meetup that's going on next summer in Memphis. You can go to AmazingRibs.com/Memphis-2020 and find out about all of the details. You get to go to a bunch of really cool barbecue restaurants. You get to stay in a really historic hotel down in Memphis. It's going to be a wild scene out there next year. How many spots are available, Meathead? I mean, we're probably only talking about a select few at this point.
It's limited to 400, and I think about half the seats are sold. But it'll be a good time, and I'm really looking forward to it. There's never been a convention for barbecue lovers. There's trade conventions, but this is for us. And if it sells out well, we've got we're going to try to put together an expo and get some different grills and smokers and stuff down there to kick the tires. I haven't done that yet because I can't attract manufacturers until I can tell them how many bodies I've got.
Got it.
But back on this faux meat for a second. If anybody listening, if any of your listeners are out there and have seen articles or information about how much energy is used in manufacturing these things, send me that link, will you?
All right, we will do that. In the meantime, you will see Meathead back here on the second Tuesday of next month, which will be October, if you can believe it. Meathead, always appreciate the time.
Good night, Greg. Good night, Centralites. Thanks for having me.
There's Meathead right there. Always enjoy our conversations. We did a lot of potato talk there, a little plant-based meat rant at the end, which is fun. And there you go. All right. Let's see where we're at. Got 1, 2, 3. Yeah, all right. We can hold off on that. Meathead at AmazingRibs.com. Also, don't forget, if you're into those barbecue videos, Meathead is doing Barbecue Stars. And we know that website to be tinyurl.com/BBQ Stars. That's tinyurl/BBQ Stars. And Meathead's videos are available. So head on over there. I don't remember if the enrollment is still available or not. I'm sure Meathead, if he's tracking on Facebook or here on YouTube, he'll give us the dates there. But if you like Meathead, he's put together some brand new videos. Production value is high, by the way. So if you want to check that out, tinyurl/BBQ stars or amazingribs.com/Memphis-2020 for the big convention of consumers. That's right. Pitcast members and lovers of AmazingRibs.com. We are pointing to the second hour. Let's go ahead and refresh libations as we get ready for the second hour of the show. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show right here on the Barbecue Central Network. Stick around. Be right back.
This is Steve Ray with Owl's Nest Barbecue, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show with Greg Rempe. Can you believe it?
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing. We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle. Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate sushi or wiener. But listen, Liberty, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we are into the second hour. Welcome aboard. You have found the Barbecue Central Show. If you've missed the first hour, don't worry about it. We're recording this show live as it happens. So if you are just stumbling across here for the last 60 minutes, you can go back and get this show starting as early as midnight tonight. Maybe a little later than that. I never fully understand how these podcast platforms refresh, like what time frame. Because I can set my archives to release into the podcast feed, which I have set like Thursdays and Friday shows. I have set to go live at 1 a.m. in the morning, because when I used to do it at 7, they just didn't magically show up at 7. It would take a while to aggregate. So now I just do it at 1 a.m. Figure I give myself 6 hours or so before people actually start to get up and get rolling on the Eastern time zone portion of the country, and away you go. And hopefully it's loaded in there for you to listen to on your way to work, or listen to at work, or maybe you're saving it for a big trip that you have this coming weekend, whatever the case may be. But the first hour of the show is locked up and ready to be released into the podcast feed at 23:55 this evening, which means you will get it tomorrow. And then Thursday, we'll house the second hour. And then, of course, we have the best of, which I will get into here in just a second. This segment of the show being brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. You can connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring, or you can connect via Bluetooth. And if you have Alexa or the Google Assistant in your home, you're in luck, because Fireboard is fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. Still to come on this show this evening is Doug Hassel from the Hassel Cattle Company. And as I had said in the show open, there is a continued demand for Wagyu beef, or however you say it. And Doug Hassel is a purveyor that's out there and a rancher that's out there. And boy, oh boy, are they becoming more popular literally by each day that is passing. and that'll be up here in about 12 minutes from now. Again, don't forget you can socially follow me. You can follow me socially at BBQ Central Show on Instagram and Twitter /BBQ Central Show on Facebook. I do have a YouTube page /RD Rempe if you want to check that out and subscribe. I'm still continuing to be pissed at YouTube. Mostly I'm pissed from like 8 or 9 years ago when a coworker of mine jacked up my original YouTube account and I was banned. Sorry, wrong sound effect. I was banned by YouTube from ever making money from them because one of my pals screwed with the clicks and they got wise to it. I'm like, why would you do that? Well, I was just trying to help you out. Just, nobody needs your help, friend. Now you've gotten me banned. And over the years, literally 8 years, a couple times a year, I reapply to go into all clear status. After further review, you still suck and you're not allowed. Great, thanks. So that's why I started the new YouTube channel. Then, of course, they changed all of their rules and regulations, which I'm never going to hit any of that to actually make any money. So whatever. I hate YouTube. I hate all this videos. I just hate it. Can't we go back to just this being a regular radio show? I mean, did you really need to see Meathead? Do you really need to see anybody? You don't need to see me. Can't we just go back to this being a regular radio or a non-video show where just audio and you can paint pictures in your head? Nobody cares what I look like. I don't even care what I look like. I just want to go back to it being just audio only. Can we do that? We can't. We're too far in. Coming up this Friday on the best moments of the Barbecue Central show in 10 minutes or less, episode 89. Friends, we are 11 shows away from 100, if you can believe 100. Some of the best barbecue and grilling related shows only made it to 100 before they called it quits. And John Solberg has the hammer down as we are rapidly approaching 100 episodes. So we thank him for his production. This particular 89th episode takes you all the way back to September 15th of 2010. 2010! A long time ago. What was going on in 2010? Who knows? You will find me, not Steve Ray this time, you will find me having a conversation with then pitmaster Leanne Whippen of Wood Chicks Barbecue, I think. She was on an episode of Barbecue Pitmasters. Remember that show? That spawned a generation of interested barbecuers, or at least created the spark for people to say, hey, I want to get into the competition barbecue scene. I can do that. Well, she was on one of the Barbecue Pitmasters show, so we talked to her about her time and experience on that show, and we also talked in that show to a fella by the name of Tom Emery, who was located on the West Coast, California guy, and we actually talked fairly in depth about the infamous turducken, which is a turkey, duck, and chicken. If I'm not mistaken, you have a turkey, and that has a duck in it, and then a chicken in it. Not sure exactly how that stuffing goes. I don't know about any of you folks, but maybe I'm the only human being left, although I can speak for my family because there's at least 5 individuals here in this country who have never, prepared a turducken, nor eaten one. Quick poll in the YouTube chat. Has anybody had turducken? Just yes or no. I think it's no. I think a lot of people will be talking some game about making and eating turducken, but that doesn't sound that great. I don't know if I want turkey with chicken with duck. Duck is pretty delicious by itself. Chicken is moderately okay at best. Turkey's a little bit better than chicken. But everybody talking about turducken, especially Thanksgiving time, maybe Christmas. There was some other thing like turducken ostrich or whatever. Some guy, and of course, you got kooks out there making them as big as they can get, 85-pound turduckens, whatever. Look at this. TS Barbecue, nope. John Poston, nope. John Solberg, nope. Brian Ashman, nope. Barbecue, that's just the name, Barbecue. Not worth the effort. Duck is overcooked. Len Carbrant, nope. Greg Rempe, nope. That's 100% no. Turducken. Get out of here, Turducken. You're done. Your time is past. You're no bacon explosion. Tim Klassen, nope. That's 100% no's, just in like 5 seconds. Nobody's eating turducken. Email, the barbecue equals meathead. All right, that's meathead right there. It says the duck gets overcooked. Email from Tim in Kansas. Hey, Greg, big fan of the show. Oh, geez. I hate when that happens. Because usually there's a but coming. And if there's a but coming, you shouldn't say anything before the but. Just start with after the but. Anyway. Hi, Greg. I'm a big fan of the show and usually listen via podcast. It's hard for me to catch it live on Tuesdays all the time. Anyway, I heard you ask a few of your guests recently how much money they make. Don't you think that line of questioning is a bit out of line? 2 examples would be Meet Mitch and Sam the Cooking Guy, not to be confused with Guy the Cooking Sam, who was in the YouTube chat. I know you like to ask the tough questions, but maybe don't ask the ones that aren't any of your business. Aside from that, keep up the good work. And again, big fan of the show. Tim. All right, Tim. Thanks for writing in. Look, let me get this point Waterford crystal clear. First of all, Tim, if that's your real name, in Kansas, if that's where you really live. If you go back and listen to the tape, okay? Listen to the tape, Ganji. If you go back and listen to the tape, I did not ask anybody, not Sam, not Mitch, anybody, how much money do you make? I'm not asking them to roll out the W-2s. What's in the bank account? What did you W-2 at the end of fiscal year blank? I didn't ask that question. What I asked Meet Mitch was, what are your gross sales? That's all. I asked Sam, how many tacos do you need to sell during the day to break even? That's not how much money do you make, right? That's a personal question. Now, let me write an example for you. I'm merely asking gross, right? What's your gross sales? And for example, let's take my job during the day. I sell Peterbilt Class 8 trucks. This year, and this is what I'm trying to, a gross number versus a net number, ultimately net profit, which I'm not asking about. I will push through, let's say, 120 or so trucks this calendar year, just for rough numbers. Let's say each truck on average is $150,000. Some are more, some are way more, some are a little less. But on average, let's say 120 trucks at $150,000 a piece. I'm just trying to make an example here for my man Tim. If I take 120 units and multiply that by the average cost of $150,000, I come up with a total of $18 million in gross sales revenues. Okay? Do any of you have any idea how much I will make out of that from the gross sales number? Do you have any idea what I'm going to W-2 at the end of 2019 out of $18 million of gross sales revenue? No, of course you don't, because you don't know how much gross profit is in there. You don't know how much the net profit is. You don't know what my compensation plan is. You just have some bullshit figure sitting out there in the business world that tells you nothing. Gross sales revenues are the biggest bullshit number on the face of the earth. And Tim, I'm not asking Sam or my God Potsy what's in the bank, as I had stated a couple minutes ago. I'm not asking what their net profit is. I just asked for gross sales numbers, which means, again, nothing on the face. So I don't want to assume you're not a business guy or belabor the point here, but let's make sure that when you're going to come at me with those questions are rude take, that you also know what the hell you're talking about. Do you think I'm going to ask Doug Hassel how much is in his bank next segment? No. Well, maybe I will. But now I'm just going to do it to be a douche. Anyway, Tim, I'm teetering right now, the more I think about your email and the more I'm having to explain myself here, that I might have to ban you from the show. Not the internet in general, but I think I might have to ban you from the show. But I'm not going to make that decision unilaterally. I will again go to the YouTube chat and say, should we ban Tim from the show? Yes or no? Answer now. I will go to a break here as we get ready to pull up Doug. But again, come on. Let's not get our panties in a bunch about gross revenues. Okay? Know the terms. Bag. All right, let me talk to you quickly about Big Papa Smokers. That's right, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue. Their curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies get you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Known for the championship rubs and seasonings, of course. 13 perfectly balanced flavors to transform your meals from ordinary to extraordinary. I love Sweet Money. Everybody loves Sweet Money. But they got Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, Regular Money, Little Louie's Seasoned Salt, the list goes on. Also, they have that great relationship with Steph Franklin over at Simply Marvelous Barbecue. Put Simply Marvelous and Big Papa together, now you're running the West Coast offense, which continues to dominate the competition circuit. They also own Granny's Barbecue Sauce. How about that? If you're looking for a new go-to sauce, you might want to give Granny's a try. And then they got the smokers and the accessories and other people's accessories and other people's rubs and other people's cookers. If you have a quality ugly drum and you want to turn it into a ugly drum smoker, they sell a kit that you can self-do that. Is that a term, self-do that? John, check. Also, they are the exclusive internet dealer of Mac cookers. How about that Mac 2-star General Pellet Grill? Easy to use, versatile. Meathead uses it to test all of his recipes for his cookbooks. If you're not a fan of pellet smokers, how about the Old Hickory Ace BP? Yeah, the only charcoal smoker that Big Papa trusts on his competition trailer. If you're not sure of what grill you need, you really can't go wrong with any of the grills. Smokers, none of that. Featured on BigPapaSmokers.com. If you have any questions, call them 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727. Or shop their website at BigPapaSmokers.com. That's BigPapaSmokers.com. Doug Hassel from the Hassel Cattle Company. Coming up. Stick around. Be right back.
The only show giving you a monthly visit from a doctor of barbecue, a man actually named Meathead. The author of a barbecue Bible, bloggers, reviewers, competitors, and manufacturers by the dozens. It's the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Smithfield. You signed up for the National Barbecue Championship. You better be. Registration free, so sign up today. Hit up smokingwithsmithfield.com for all of the details. All right, my guest in the second hour is running a fourth-generation ranch in Rusk, Texas. Texas, of course, known for the beef, and we continue to see a consuming public and the demand for Wagyu beef. However, getting the best typically means paying like it's the best, right? Yeah. But my guest tonight might be looking to change that mindset a bit, marketing their product as Blue Collar Wagyu. Let's head to the hotline and welcome in first-timer to the show, the owner of Hassel Cattle Company at HasselCattleCompany.com. Doug Hassel joining me. Hey, Doug.
Hey, how are you?
Spectacular. Is your camera on there, sir?
There we go.
All right.
Let me flip it around.
No, you're good. It looks like we got full screen there. And wow, look at. Well, Doug, I hate to tell you, you have a luscious kitchen. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Is that a nice one of those electric range tops right there?
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I wanted to make it really nice, and my wife has spent a lot of time in here.
Yeah, I love the cabinets. Is that a dual wall oven that you got behind you?
It is.
Yeah. Now, let's be honest. How many times do you use the dual wall oven? Because I have dual wall oven in my house, and I think I'd used the second oven 7 times in the 5 years that we've lived here.
Well, we tend to have a lot of people here all the time, so we use it pretty regular.
All right. We are talking with Doug Hassel from Hassel Cattle Company. Again, the website, hasselcattlecompany.com while we're talking. Also, Hassel Cattle Company on Instagram if you want to give them a follow. So is the official tagline for the company Konnichiwa Y'all?
Yes, sir. We kind of took the Japanese word konnichiwa, which means hello, and we combined it with the Texas word y'all. And so we kind of mix the konnichiwa and the y'all together. It gives you the Japanese and the American together.
Very nice. So give us a little background about you, Doug. And I guess, as I had mentioned in the open, we're looking at a 4th-generation ranch in Rusk, Texas. So where's Rusk? And tell us a little bit about the history of Hassel Cattle.
All right. Rusk is located in East Texas. We are on Highway 69 between Lufkin and Tyler, halfway in between the two.
All right. What about the history of the Hassel Ranch?
All right, Hassel Ranch, my granddad has always had cattle on this ranch. And about 4 years ago, we started running the Wagyu in with our commercial operation. And our main goal was to stop taking animals to the sale barn and start going from the farm straight to the table. And it takes about 3 years from the time you breed a calf or a cow and you have a calf and get it big enough to butcher and send to market.
So you were doing, would it be commodity beef before you started getting into the Wagyu then, or something different?
No, we were just commodity beef is what we were doing.
So, is everything done, I guess, in Texas? Is that a good question to ask? Like, are you raising all the cattle there? Like, you on 750,000 acres out there in Texas? Because, Texas is a pretty big state for those people that didn't know, but, what are you looking at?
Right, it's a big state. We're a little shy of 750,000 acres. We have a couple thousand acres total, but we raise the cattle on our property. We get them up to about 600 pounds. We have our own little feed yard, and we get them up to about 600 pounds. And then from there, we actually go to Nebraska, and we finish feeding them out there. You can feed them out so much better in Nebraska. And then from there, they go over to Omaha, Nebraska, and they're harvested. And from there, they come back to Texas. Some of them do. We will cut them up into individual steaks. We ship them out all over the country. Some of them leave from Nebraska and they go to different distributors out in New York, New Orleans, Florida. We ship meat all over the United States.
So when you talk about being able to feed them out much better in Nebraska, I don't really understand the insight there, but so here's how I hear it: you're raising them in Texas to a certain age and size, or maybe just age, or maybe it's age and size, and then you put them in like a truck and ship them up to Nebraska.
Correct.
Okay.
And we finish them in Nebraska. In Nebraska, they grow a lot of the grains and different feeds that you need to finish feeding these animals out that makes them marble, and that's what gives us our high prime on our animals.
And is that something from a finishing standpoint that just isn't available in Texas, or would be costly to get the stuff from Nebraska and do it in Texas all in one swoop?
Well, we're in East Texas. East Texas is all piney woods and oak trees with small coastal fields in different places. So we don't grow any of the grains or corns or soybeans and corn that you really need to finish a cattle properly.
And is the company in Nebraska like a Hassel Cattle of Nebraska, or are you partnering with somebody?
Yeah, we work with a family-owned feed operation up there, and we go into an all-natural feed yard. They're never given any antibiotics, no hormones. All the feed is natural. And so we start out, in East Texas, we never give antibiotics or hormones. Now, if we end up getting a cow that gets sick, just like a person, and they either got to get them well or they end up, they'll end up dying, we'll give them antibiotic, but they leave the all natural program and they're just put into regular commercial program. You'll buy them at your favorite hamburger store somewhere.
Do you maintain a certain number of I mean, I guess let's just talk about the Wagyu stuff here, but do you maintain or try to maintain a certain number of head of these?
We do. Between what we've got and a few neighbors around here that we control, their operation, their cattle operation, what they'll do is they'll take the Angus cattle, just like we do. We put our Wagyu bulls that are registered with the Wagyu Association, and we put them with the Wagyu or the Angus cows. They breed, they have a baby, and they're a F1. And what the Wagyu does for you is it allows you to have a higher prime grade of meat. And so far, everybody that's tried it really likes it. I believe I sent you a little sample package up there a while back.
Yep.
Hopefully you liked it.
Oh yeah,
Right.
I mean it was very good. So one of the things that we can get, or I guess they can get convoluted, is titling and labeling stuff. So when I go to a high-end steakhouse, for instance, I see one side has certified Angus beef, and then the middle portion has prime, and then on the right-hand side you have Wagyu, and there's like Mizuzaki stuff, and then there's stuff that seems to be more like what you would sell. I mean, is Wagyu just is prime, but just a higher grade of prime, and you can put the Wagyu moniker, or does it have to grade so much fat internally in order to go from prime to Wagyu? Or, I mean, how do people not get snookered here?
Right. There's a lot of people that call Wagyu Wagyu. Here's the way I understand it from the American Wagyu Association. If your animal is 50% or more Wagyu, then it can be labeled as Wagyu. And so that's why we take Angus cattle and we use the Wagyu, registered Wagyu bulls. And so we're raising a F1, which is 50% Wagyu. And then you have different grades of meat. You have select choice prime. Mm-hmm. And in Japan, they grade their prime, it's the A1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so you got higher grades of prime. Even in the US, there's not really, you got a body mass score. And our prime 4, we call it, is a 10 plus BMS. Our prime 3 is an 8-9 body mass score. And our prime 2 is a 7 or a 6-7 body mass score. And so the higher the body mass score, the more marbling and the better quality meat it is. So, and everything that we've harvested in the last 2 or 3 months has been a prime 3 or prime 4. So we're getting a real high prime grade meat.
Is there a definitive way to knock that number up to, 9 or 10 or 11 or no?
There is. It's just all about genetics. Mm-hmm. You can get better genetics. And then I always tell everybody genetics is 50% of it, and the way they're fed out is the other 50%. Those guys that we use in Nebraska, they do a wonderful job finishing our cattle up there. And so it's all about your genetics.
So how do you go about getting genetics? If I wanted to start a Wagyu business, who do I contact to get a really greatly genetic bull?
I would start with the American Wagyu Association, and then I would talk to farms around your area, and that's what I did. We have a farm up in Jacksonville, Texas, that we dealt with, and they only raise 100% Wagyu, and their meat's grading high prime, and it's wonderful stuff. The problem with just a straight Wagyu, in my opinion, is it takes too long for them to grow. The Wagyu breed is a very slow growing animal. So that's why we crossed it with Angus. They grow faster, and we're getting the high prime that we were looking for. But I would start with the American Wagyu Association and find out who the members are around there and visit as many ranches as you can, go talk to them. And everybody has different opinions about stuff. But there's a lot of good guys out there to talk to that are raising Wagyu.
Doug Hassel joining me here on the show from the Hassel Cattle Company. HassleCattleCompany.com is the website. We kind of rolled around the answer here to the next question, but the Japanese Kobe beef and the American Wagyu is the biggest difference, and we kind of talked about it off air for a little bit, is the true Japanese stuff that you see, the fat all over the place. I mean, this is something that you're not going to eat as a consumer a 16 ounce Mizuzaki steak, whereas since you're mixing it or you're crossing it with an Angus, it's got a more palatable. It's more easily palatable at a 16 ounce cut or a 12 ounce cut versus something that is more traditionally Kobe, quote unquote.
Yeah, the Kobe beef that you hear everybody talk about comes from the Kobe region of Japan, and so to actually be called Kobe beef, it has to come from Kobe, Japan. And you hear people in the U.S. call their beef Kobe. That's really not correct. We're Wagyu, and the Wagyu is the same thing that the Kobe region uses, except it's just labeled Kobe because that's where it comes from. What you have when you have a full Wagyu, that meat is real. I mean, it's wonderful. It's real rich, and you probably don't want to eat more than 3 or 4 ounces of it, or you'll know about it.
Is that like you would never consider putting something like that in the product line because it would probably, or do you think you would get enough sales on it where people would say, hey, we got Christmas coming up or a special event here, we'll buy a chunk and, everybody will get a couple ounces here or there and it'll satisfy the curiosity?
Right. That's just not us. What we're doing is the F1 cross, and we do it very well. And that's kind of where our focus is. And like I say, if you want some pure Wagyu, there's a ranch in Jacksonville, Texas that they produce some of the best out there. Diamond T Ranch. I would check with those guys, but also the cost is quite a bit more when you go to a pure Wagyu because it just takes longer to grow that animal. Plus, you have a lot more money invested in your genetics, but having the bull, pure Wagyu registered and having the cow registered. I've seen these Wagyu cows go for $30,000-$40,000, and so you got to sell that meat for a lot of money. And I tell you, if I got a pure Wagyu, it's going to be hard for me to want to make him a steer and sell him off for even $60 a pound.
Right.
Where you probably sell him off for $15,000-$20,000 if it's the right genetics as a breeder bull.
Doug, let me ask you, I say maybe 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I don't even know if we would be having this conversation. And I don't think a lot of people were really on the come on Wagyu beef in general. But fast forward to 2019, especially over the last 3 or 4 years, it seems like this has really been a hot button in the market. And where you only saw maybe 1 or 2 names that had access or were purveying this high-end meat, you see more and more people starting to enter the market. So you said you're in it now maybe 4 years. Did you see a demand in the market and you were, in the cattle business and said, hey, let's get into this and try and capitalize? Or were you in it was it just happenstance that you said, hey, we want to do this, and you're also catching it at the right time?
Right. I guess a little bit of both of it. The main reason I really started studying the Wagyu breed is because I wanted to grow an animal that we could sell to the end user. And I wanted to have a very high prime quality product. And the Wagyu is a tool that lets me get to that point. Did I do it just because I wanted to have Wagyu? Not necessarily. I just wanted a great product that was a little bit different than what other people are selling, just straight Angus or whatever out in the market, that had a good, the Wagyu. Another thing, you'll get a buttery flavor with it. And it's also very tender. I've got videos of people cutting ribeyes with a fork. And so that's kind of why we went into the Wagyu deal, because it's so hard. As my son that's 26 years old, all he wants to do is raise cattle. And I told him, I said, look, you're going to go broke raising cattle. You're talking about making, $50 to $100 a head if everything goes right in a year's time. And nothing ever goes right on a farm. You either got a drought or you got a flood, or, there's always something going on. And so that's when we started really looking at how can we go to the end user, provide a good hormone-free, no antibiotic, quality product. And that's how we ended up doing the Wagyu.
You had kind of talked about the process of getting the Wagyu bull and the Angus cow together. Is it, has it always been a, let's call it a natural conception as far as that's concerned, or have you been a little bit more scientific in past years?
No, we haven't done any really AI work or artificial insemination. We've always just turned bulls in with our Angus cattle and go that route.
Is there any advantage to that, like an AI, or is it just more cost?
Well, a lot of people at AI will take a bull instead of putting a bull with 20, 25 cows. They'll collect semen and then they can breed, 100 cows with that same bull. And the Wagyu bull is very, very fertile. I mean, you can put one bull with 40 Angus cows and he'll cover them without a problem. I mean, our pregnancy rate is about 90% on our cows. So we'll have 10% that won't get pregnant at a time, which is very high pregnancy rate.
All right, so the bull has a voracious appetite, if you will, so that's good to hear. Let's. Can I actually hold you over for a bit of another segment, and we can talk about the cuts that you got and some of the other products? Is that all right?
Absolutely. I've got some meat here. I'll show you, and we'll kind of go over our cuts.
All right.
All right.
We'll do that here in just a minute. We're talking with Doug Hassel of the Hassel Cattle Company. By the way, the website is hasselcattlecompany.com if you want to check it out. Also follow him on Instagram, Hassel Cattle Company, all one word there. So I will talk to you quickly about the barbecue guru before we get back with Doug. They've always believed that outdoor cooking should be easy and fun because it can be, especially with the Monolith Barbecue Guru Edition grill. You've heard me talk about it for months and months, right? This is a ceramic cooker. Ceramic cookers are very popular these days, but this is the world's first ceramic cooker that has a built-in power draft fan already in it. So if you have a automatic temperature control device from the Barbecue Guru, all you have to do is take that controller, hook it up to the fan, and away you go. You don't have to buy anything additional. Now, the good news is that the Monolith comes with a bunch of other really cool accessories. They're not going to nickel and dime you like some of the other ceramic cookers that are available on the market. Everything that you need to be a successful ceramic cooker right out of the box comes with the Monolith Guru Edition grill. Plus, you can get a whole bunch of really cool stuff over at the website, bbqguru.com. But again, check out this particular ceramic cooker if you have a Guru controller already. Now, if you want to upgrade that technology, certainly up to you. Visit the website, see what other controllers that they're offering, and if you have any questions, you can call them at 800-288-GURU. That's 800-288-GURU, and they'll make sure that you're up and running right out of the box. We are back with more Wagyu Cattle Talk with Doug Hassel of the Hassel Cattle Company right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. We are talking with Doug Hassel from the Hassel Cattle Company. Thanks for hanging with me through the break there, Doug.
Yes, sir.
And now let's talk about really cool stuff, which, of course, is cuts of beef, and you have some stuff you want to show us. But let me first ask you about I don't know if it's a catchphrase or whatnot, but it's a blue-collar Wagyu, right? So what do you mean by that?
Blue-collar Wagyu, we came up with that because our Wagyu, at the prices we're selling it at, your common man can afford to buy this meat. And so we came up with a blue-collar Wagyu. If you go onto our website, the hasselcattlecompany.com website, you'll see kind of what we're selling our meat for.
Is it a intentional thing for you to go and, or I guess if you know what the market is currently bringing for this kind of meat, it would seem a little out of, not out of line, of course, but it would seem to go against the grain of business to, price yourself less. So, I mean, obviously you want to make it available for everybody.
When I looked at pricing, I took the cattle and I looked at how much, pounds of ribeyes you got in New York strips. And it was quite a process to figure all this out. And we decided, look, we need X amount of dollars out of this cow to make a profit. But we didn't want to be so high that people couldn't afford us either. And at the prices we're selling it at, we can make a living. People can enjoy some great Wagyu meat. And so we came up with the phrase blue collar Wagyu.
All right, Doug, I'm going to ask you this because nobody thinks I'm going to ask you, but how much is in your bank account? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It's a joke. It's an inside joke. It's an inside joke.
I'll have to ask my wife.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Of course, spoken like a man, I would say the same exact thing. I'm like, I just make the money. I have no idea how much we actually have in the bank. All right, so let's talk about the cuts of beef. What do we have? What's popular? And what do you like the best?
Well, I tell you, everybody asks, what's different about the cuts with the Wagyu? It's the exact same cuts that you have on any Angus cow or any other cow that you go to the grocery store and buy. We have our ribeyes, which are very, very popular. Matter of fact, I need to come up with a cow that's got double the amount of ribeyes on it because that's our number one seller. It seems like we're always trying to come up with more ribeyes. Our New York strip are wonderful, and actually the New York strip is the number one steak sold in the United States.
Oh, really?
That's a highest selling cut. That's what I've read online, and that's what it's showing. The filet mignon, or also known as a tenderloin, that piece of meat, it just melts in your mouth. It's wonderful. We have some even less expensive cuts that we do, like the flat iron steak, the Denver steak. They're just little steaks that are marbled up. We have a restaurant in Palestine, Texas. It's actually a Italian pizza place, and they do a appetizer using our flat iron steak, and they sell a ton of it. Everybody loves that little flat iron steak. We do our hamburger meat. We do an 80-20. We do it in a 5-pound, a 1 pound, and then we do patties, and the patties are 8-ounce patties. And our hamburger meat actually won. Food Network had a big burger jam up in the Northeast, and we won first place at the burger jam.
Wow!
And so it's very popular. It just had, when you start talking about prime meat, it has a different flavor. You know, my wife told me the other day, so you kind of run us. We can't go eat hamburger anywhere because it doesn't taste as good as what we do. We can't go eat a steak anywhere unless they're selling, Wagyu or our steak. It's our fajita meat. It's unreal. I cooked fajitas for a big wedding a while back. I cooked 30 pounds. Everybody kept coming up to me and said, "What kind of seasoning did you use?" I said, "Well, it was just Walmart Fiesta fajita seasoning." Like, no, that ain't it. And finally, I told him, I said, it was Wagyu. And it just has a different flavor. Everybody, it just improves the taste of all of it.
So is the fajita meat like what part of the, or what cut is that?
We're doing the inside and the outside skirt, and then the flank steak is what we use for fajita meat. Another item that's really, really popular is our bacon. We do a beef bacon. Everybody keeps telling me, you can't do bacon out of beef. And I tell them, well, I guess it only comes from pork and turkeys, I guess. But we actually do a beef bacon. And this is it. I don't know if it's close enough to where you can see it.
Wow.
But we take this bacon, we smoke it, we cure it just like you would pork bacon. And this stuff here, we go to a lot of these farmers markets, and people walk by and we sample product. And some people, you ask them if they want to try something, they kind of look at you funny, like, leave me alone. But we always ask them, you want to try a little beef bacon? And, they'll say, no. And then say, wait, what do you mean bacon? Beef bacon? Who's ever heard of beef bacon? They come over there and try it. At one point, I had over 500 pounds of this bacon in our walk-in. And I was saying, how in the world are we ever going to get rid of this? And about 2 weeks later, we had like none.
Wow.
Oh, Lord. We got to get to making bacon again. Another thing we make that's real popular is our smoked sausage. And this sausage is jalapeno cheese.
Ooh.
It has a wonderful flavor. This is very, very popular. We sell probably 5 packages of the jalapeno cheese to 1 package of the regular smoked sausage.
Oh, wow.
But we have regular smoked, and we also have just jalapeno smoked sausage. But the jalapeno cheese is by far the most popular. Another thing, if you look on Facebook on Hassel Cattle Company, we started making these hot dog franks. We had a big deal, me and my wife. I wanted to call them Wagyu wieners, and I got voted down. So now we call them Wagyu beef franks is what they're called. But they're 6 in a pound. The outside has a little crunch when you bite into it. They're natural casing.
Natural case, yeah, like those.
Yep. And I tell you what, these have been very, very popular. Everybody tries them. There's Sandy up in Oklahoma. She is always, I send her weenies to cook with, and she does an enchilada dog. I mean, there's all kinds. I had no idea you could make so many different hot dogs, but she's made just tons of them. And a lot of those recipes and links are over on our Hassel Cattle Company Facebook page. And then here we've got our ribeye.
Ooh,
you can see this is
that's a nice thick ribeye too.
Yeah, we cut them 1.25 inches. It's kind of hard to tell in the package, but you can see all the marbling in it. And this thing, when you cook this thing, this is 16 ounces. And when you cook it, you can actually cut it with a plastic fork. Our marketing people that we use is out of Chicago. They're a big marketing company, and I was lucky to talk them into helping little guys like us. But they needed some meat to kind of get their creative juices flowing. So I sent them some meat up there, and they sent me back video of them cutting it with a fork.
Oh, wow.
And, they're the ones that came up with your Konnichiwa, y'all. If you look, you'll see our little van wrap. It looks very nice. Everything they've done is very professional, very nice, and we're proud to have them on board with us. This is our hamburger patties. I don't know if you can see them, but there's 2 patties. They're 8 ounce. And what I like about these, when you cook them, they don't really shrink up.
I noticed that you sent me burgers, and I have a house full of 4 women, 3 daughters, and a wife, and everybody is big hamburger fans. So the test for me, look, perhaps you're going to hate my guts when I say this out loud, but that's okay. I'm a man. One of my favorite burgers is a Bubba burger. But the one thing I do notice about the Bubba burger as it cooks is it does have a tendency to lose a lot of that, weight as it cooks. But when I cooked your burger, it was pretty much true to form from start to finish.
Right. And I found with our burgers, I like to cook them on either in a cast iron skillet or on a flat iron grill.
Yep.
They seem to work better. I've cooked them over open flames, and it seems like it makes it smoke a lot because there's so much, I guess, just juice that comes out of them. But to really do these right, cast iron skillet or a flat iron works very, very good. And then we've got our 1 pound blocks. We make a lot of meatloaf out of it, meatballs. I tell you, one of my favorite things, well, the other night my wife had a sorority meeting. We cooked up 5 pounds of hamburger meat, and they had a Mexican dish that they were making. And I don't know, there wasn't many women there, but I didn't get any leftovers. So it was a little aggravating.
Yeah, speaking to the deliciousness of the meat. So are you selling, from a percentage standpoint, is it like a more to the end user, like somebody like me, or are you selling into, hooking up with distributors or going directly to restaurant? What's the percentage of difference?
Right. Yeah, right now, we're probably selling about half and half to end users and half to restaurants and a few distributors. As being hooked up with the World Food Championship that's coming up, I'm getting a lot of calls from all over the country. I've got people, I had a guy in my office the other day from Greece. I'm getting calls from Europe, the UK, Germany. And so I guess that's pretty far reaching. I think we will probably end up selling more to distributors, will probably be our biggest deal, but we're selling a lot to individuals. We're getting a lot of radio exposure and a lot of Facebook exposure, and our every day it seems like we have more and more orders that come in. And speaking of which, if your listeners would like to order 2 New York strips, they can go to our website, order 2 New York strips, and enter the code JERKY, and we'll send them a free package of original jerky. And that's another very popular item is our jerky. And we do the original, and we also do a sweet and spicy, and it's been very popular. We also do a meat stick, kind of like a Slim Jim, except we do our original and we do a jalapeno cheese. We have several convenience stores selling these things, and it amazes me every time I go by. It seems like they're out, and so we're selling more and more of that product. And what I like about our meat stick is it doesn't leave a greasy film in your mouth. Some of the other brands, you eat it, and it leaves a pretty greasy film that you got to overcome throughout the day.
Let's quickly talk. We got a couple minutes left here, Doug, and I appreciate the time this evening. Let's talk about the American Royal that's coming up here this coming weekend, and then let's touch on the partnership with World Food Championships, because I know that is a big deal.
Okay. All right. The American Royal is this weekend. It's a big cook-off. I know we are providing all the ribeyes for their steak cook-off portion of that deal.
Wow.
We're very excited. I actually picked that meat up today, and boy, howdy, I hope it all makes it up there. I don't know.
You might need an armored car going up to Kansas for sure.
I may have to. I'll have to run a decoy in front of me or
Right.
something. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you what I'm driving up there because
Smart.
It's pretty nice looking meat that's in there. So I have no doubt that this will probably be one of their best steak cook-offs they've ever had using our meat.
And then from World Food Championships, how do you get hooked up with them? Because I know you're the steak partner there.
Yes, sir. We've got a brand ambassador, Kathy Pullen. I don't know if you know her. She's got different seasonings and stuff, and she cooks all over the place. And she introduced me to the World Food Championship guys, Mike McLeod, and we got to talking. And they're coming to Dallas this year, and Dallas is in my backyard. We're 2 hours from Dallas, and I sent him some product, and they liked it a lot. And so we worked a deal to be their official steak of the World Food. They got all kinds of titles that they give us. We're the presenting sponsor of the WFC Steak Championship, official steak of the Ultimate Food Fight, official choice of food champions, and the official steak of the WFC. So, anyhow, it sounds like a lot. I like it.
So let's talk a little business here as we close out. So you're providing steaks for the American Royal. You're the steak partner for World Food Championships. Are you in a position where you're let's say donating these steaks to the steak cook-off? Or, are you getting some kind of relief back from entry fees that these people are taking part in, like the steak cook-offs and stuff, or World Food Championships?
Right. Well, right now, the steaks that we're not getting paid for the steaks right now, other than we're getting a lot of promotional material, a lot of they're pushing us to their members.
Mm-hmm.
And in return, we're selling a lot of steak to the members. We get a lot of the WFC guys that buy product from us. So maybe one of these days.
Yeah, I have no idea what the outgoing amount would be for the weight that you're giving them, but you're obviously seeing a beneficial return on that investment.
Exactly. I would rather pay in meat than in cash. If I pay in meat, somebody's going to eat it and they're going to say, wow, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
If I pay in cash, I'd rather pay my bills in meat for marketing.
Would it be ideal someday where, you're able to provide the meat, but you're also able to claim a couple bucks per steak back as well?
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Sure.
I like, you know what? I may make you my manager, my partner in this thing.
Well, you know what I say.
You negotiate some of this stuff.
Profit is not a dirty word where I come from, Doug. I'll tell you that.
That's right. It's not, and hopefully we'll see some profit here before too long.
Well, at some point, otherwise we're going to be having a different conversation down the road. So,
exactly.
If you want, go ahead. I'm sorry.
We're doing fine. The company's doing good. We're selling a lot of meat, and we're meeting a lot of wonderful people. It's given me a lot of opportunities to talk to people like yourself, other radio people, and just meet a lot of wonderful cooks. I had no idea how passionate these cooks are about their deal. It's wonderful. I'd rather be here than going to a football game or baseball game. I'd rather go watch a competition. Now, I really like it now, and I didn't know this would be a perk, but I get invited to do some judging. I guess they can look at me and tell that I like to eat. And so I actually get to judge some of these competitions, which is wonderful.
We are talking with Doug Hassel from Hassel Cattle Company. HasselCattleCompany.com is the website. You can follow him on Instagram at the same handle. And there's going to be the steak cook-off coming up this weekend at the American Royal, and obviously partnered up with the World Food Championships. Order 2 strips, and you can get a free pack of jerky if you enter jerky at checkout. And again, the website is HasselCattleCompany.com. Doug, really appreciate all of the insights and the information and the candor here this evening, and we wish you nothing but continued success, and hopefully we can do it again soon.
Yes, sir. Call me anytime you get over this way. Stop by. We'll let you, I don't know, ride a horse, catch a cow, whatever you want to do.
Maybe I'll ride one of those Wagyus. We'll see what happens.
The Wagyu breed, they're really a gentle breed. It's amazing. You can go out in the field and a lot of them will let you rub on them and different things. They're really gentle.
Well,
it's a little different than some of the breeds we've had where you go out there and it's a fight to get out.
No doubt. Rubbing on the Wagoos, I can only invite a bunch of terrible comments from my fans, unfortunately. But, Doug, I appreciate you throwing it out there. That's great. I love that.
I'm talking about scratching them behind the ears.
Yes, of course you are. That's right. I certainly, Doug, always appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You got it. There he is, Doug Hassel from the Hassel Cattle Company, rubbing up on. Always appreciate the time. Always. I appreciate the time tonight, Doug. Rubbing up on those cows there. Don't worry, Jimmy Q, you are not the father of that Wagyu. Okay, don't worry about it. You're not the father. Of course not. All right, we are a little late, so let's play catch up. I'll talk to you quickly about Green Mountain Grills before we come back and tie up the show. Some of the best pellet cookers out there on the market today. That's right now. Couple different lines. Classic line. I don't know if they call it the classic line, but I call it the classic line. Then you have the prime line, which is the recently released version of the Green Mountain Grill. It's got the peek-in windows, both on the main cooking chamber and in the pellet hopper. 2 internal meat probes instead of 1, running on the 12-volt power technology like the Davy Crockett does. And you have the Jim Bowie and the Daniel Boone. Both of those can also accommodate the pizza oven insert, which I used over this past weekend, and it's so fun. The Green Mountain Grill and the pizza oven insert, I mean, it really knocks it out of the park when it comes to cooker and versatility. I love it. I love doing chicken on it one night, then I love ripping the guts out, putting it in the pizza oven, doing like 8 or 9 pizzas. Go to Aleshi's over by the Giant Eagle. Couple minutes from my house, grabbing dough balls, the sauce, all the fixins. Everybody makes their own pizza. Love it. So much fun. If you have a Green Mountain Grill and you don't have a pizza up, how dare you currently exist? Rectify that situation immediately. Go to greenmountaingrills.com and check out everything that they have to offer. Then find a dealer near you and snap them up. greenmountaingrills.com. That's greenmountaingrills.com. We're back to wrap the show right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Greg Rempe.
All right, we're back. I have to... Oh, hold on. Let me do this. Let me talk to you about the Smoke Sheet. That's what this segment is sponsored by. Keeps you in the know on everything happening in the barbecue world, including top news, events, recipes, and more. Started by Ryan Cooper, the barbecue tourist on Instagram, and Sean Ludwig, New York City Barbecue on Instagram. Both of them traveling around the country to find the best barbecue and then report on it. You can sign up for the newsletter at bbqnewsletter.com, a great all-in-one source covering the live fire industry. And mentioning this show every other week, by the way. Thank you. So as we quickly review the interview with Doug Hassel, I didn't fix that, damn it. I'll fix that. No, I won't. I'll forget. As we quickly review the interview with Doug Hassel, I have to say, right out of the gate, he flipped that phone around, and from a audio fidelity and visual standpoint, as I was just bitching about could we possibly go back to an all-audio show, Doug pulls out a home run. He's got, obviously, an iOS device. He has the wireless ear pods in there. His fidelity was good. He had a great backdrop. It was well lit. If you're going to come on this show and pull off Skype video with no issues and great sound, do yourself a favor and email Doug Hassel and say, how the hell did you do that? Because 9 times out of 10, guests don't do that. A lot of my guests that show up on a regular basis can't show up like that. Doug, production value through the roof as a host. I appreciate that. And then very open with the business and how he's getting it done out there. Doing it the old fashion way, if you know what I mean. No artificial insemination. Although it sound from you said from one bull collection you could do 100 cows. That's a lot. But he also happened to say that one bull could cover 40 cows. So Doug's got away with words, which I appreciate. And again, you can, it sounds like he'll be up there at the American Royal this coming weekend, and they're going to sponsor that SCA event. And he is a stake partner of the World Food Championships. So the return, I am a advocate and a protector of the business guy. So when I hear that, he's giving away the stakes, like, first of all, there's no way they would make him pay to give away his stakes, right? I mean, that would be completely ludicrous. I don't think anybody would ever do that. But my concern is the payback enough? He's the one taking the gamble. I mean, screw the guys at the SCA event. I mean, they're getting free steak. They're not risking anything by bringing in free steak. Plus, it's Wagyu beef on top of that. Same thing with World Food Championships. The only one taking the gamble is Doug here. He's giving away, which I would imagine is thousands and thousands of dollars worth of beef in hopes that there is a return on that. That's my only concern for a guy like Doug or
Hello, everybody. This is Gary
Flip.
Vaynerchuk.
Gary, just chill out for a damn minute. I forgot to hit the top of the hour switch over. So that's my only concern. That's why I feel like I need to advocate sometimes for these companies, because I'm not saying that this is what the SCA or the World Food Championships is up to, but everybody's looking for something for nothing. And he happens to have a high quality product. So of course, I want as much as I can of that for nothing, right? So it wouldn't be terrible down the road where he would be able to command a few bucks. But he said the return on that investment is coming in, so that at least makes me feel good in my stomach. I can sleep tonight knowing that Doug is happy with that business arrangement. But, anybody that comes on the show when we're talking about, of course, I'm going to be concerned that I want to look out for these guys. I mean, he's coming on and telling me all about the business. I want to make sure these guys stay in business, right? I mean, he's very successful. He's got other businesses that are happening that maybe could supplement the beef business that started to go down the tank, but it sounds like everything is going like gangbusters right now. And it's blue-collar Wagyu. I'm going to go on the World Wide Webs tonight and order up New York strips and ribeye steaks. Because, as we learned in the top of the second hour, because I sell $18 million worth of trucks this year, I'm a rich motherfucker. That's right. Yeah, baby. Yeah, I'm rich. So, long way to go to say if you're interested in steak and you're interested in trying Wagyu if you haven't yet, why not try HassleCattleCompany.com and Instagram at HassleCattleCompany and see what's what. And price check them against some of the other places. You know the other Wagyu purveyors out there. You know what's up. Check them out. I should have asked them about the dry aging, right? Is that the next thing that we're going to get into, Doug? Doug, shoot me a private message where nobody can see it. Are we going to get into dry aging at some point? That's very big. Pat LaFrida, meat purveyor, what was it? 75% of his sales are dry aging. Yes. Yes. All right, can we please make the break? Let's do this. All the way back in the first hour, Meathead was talking about potatoes. Meathead from AmazingRibs.com, by the way. Mashed potatoes, baked potatoes, fried potatoes, potato pancakes. We also talked about twice-baked potatoes and chunked potatoes, a lot of potatoes. A very brief rant on plant-based meat. And then in the second hour, we talked with Doug Hassel, fourth-generation owner of Hassle Cattle Company. That is a Wagyu meat purveyor. Started in commodity and has graduated or also gotten into the Wagyu side of things. They have a deal going on right now. Order 2 strip steaks. And as you check out, in the promo code, put jerky. Listen, jerky, Jerky, and you get a free pack of their ever-popular jerky. Also, beef bacon. Who wants to try beef bacon? I do. I want to try beef bacon. Give it a try, price check it up, and see if your ROI is the same. Big show planned for you on the third Tuesday of the month. Stephen Reichlin is in. Robin Lindars is in, amongst others. Is George Mott in next week? The Hamburger King of the world? Let me go to my calendar here. I don't want to leave you hanging. Come on, Googles. Believe it or not, we've rescheduled Kevin Bloodsoe. K Bloody is going to be in. It's my nickname for him. I'll have to confirm with him. So big show planned for you. Plus, we will probably have the American Royal Open and or Invitational winner to close it out. So it's jam-packed already. We're not even there. Again, the code for the free jerky, if you're going to order it, and you have to order 2 strip steaks, is jerky, Jerky, at checkout, HassleCattleCompany.com. September 11th is tomorrow. Remember it. Tomorrow, remember it the next day. Remember it always, because I will never forget. September 11th, 2001. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.
Hello, everybody. This is Gary Bay, Nerd Chuck, host of Wine Library TV, aka WLTV, the #1 wine show on the internet. And this is BBQ Center.